It's 1967 and British rock trio Cream have entered the charts in the UK for the first time. Their debut album Fresh Cream hit number 6, their single I Feel Free hit number 11, and following their success in the UK, the band had decided to head to America to see if they could follow in the Beatles' footsteps and also break through across the pond. The manager of the Beatles, Brian Epstein, had been working with Cream's manager, Robert Stigwood, and had arranged for Cream to perform in the United States, to play during Easter week at the RKO 58th Street Theatre in Manhattan as part of a show promoted by the New York DJ Murray the K. They were starting out at the very bottom of the bill in hopes of climbing their way to the top. And they were off to a pretty good start because, despite the band never having even been to the States, the album Fresh Cream nonetheless had reached number 39 in the American album charts. And as a result of this, their manager, Stigwood, had already secured the band a deal with Atlantic Records. Atlantic was the coolest jazz and rhythm and blues label in America. The company had Sonny and Cher, but it was looking for more white pop and rock acts to better compete with the likes of CBS. Owner Ahmet Ertegun desperately wanted to sign Stigwood's latest acquisition, the Bee Gees, and Stigwood agreed on one condition: if you want the Bee Gees, you have to sign Cream. Really, at this stage in their careers, the band had become little more than a bargaining chip between their manager Robert Stigwood, who also managed many other acts, and Ahmet Ertegun, the head of Atlantic. That first album, Fresh Cream, had been recorded in a tiny studio above a chemist's shop in central London called Ryemuse Studio. And before they left the UK for America for their first series of American shows, they went back to Ryemuse to record a handful of demos for possible inclusion on their upcoming second album. Many of these demos were a radical departure from the rootsy material on Fresh Cream that had brought them their initial success, and Stigwood, their manager, was apparently not hugely impressed. At that time, the new psychedelic sound was on the rise, and Jack Bruce had decided to move in that direction. So Cream landed in New York and began playing on the Murray the K variety show, playing a one-song set right at the bottom of the bill. But while there, Ahmet, the owner of Atlantic Records, came along to hear and meet the band, and quickly became a huge fan. And from there, he invited them to come to Atlantic Studios on Broadway to start work on their second album. Bass player Jack Bruce was also the frontman of Cream, and he, alongside his lyric writer Pete Brown, was the primary songwriter for the band. And he'd been noticing that back in the UK, the Jimi Hendrix Experience had been taking over, stepping into that newly opened psychedelic gap in the market. And he'd been interested to note that Jimi had done it with an album packed with original material, which was pretty unusual for the time. Jack had realised, correctly, that this was the future. And so what followed was a frantic few months of songwriting in London that would turn out to be one of the most productive periods between Jack and Pete ever. Sunshine of Your Love was one of the tracks written in this period. And then, in May, with this clutch of new songs, they returned to New York to begin recording Disraeli Gears. And it was in these sessions for Disraeli Gears that those demos they'd recorded at Ryemuse Studios some months earlier were again produced, as they were picking which songs they were going to record and finalising the track list. Jack and Pete Brown had written a selection of very good songs, but Eric, Ginger, Stigwood, their manager, and Ertegun, the label boss, were all a little less than enthusiastic. Jack says, before leaving for the States to do the Murray the K show, Cream had gone into Ryemuse to demo more new material. 2 would appear on the next album, but the rest were rejected by Eric and Ginger. Jack's view is that this was fueled by resentment that he and Pete were coming up with all these new songs. They were all first-rate compositions. It's a funny thing with Jack. He was very astute, he was prodigiously talented, and what a voice. But he was also very confrontational, argumentative and forceful. And I think maybe because of his social manner, even when he was right, he would still sometimes get overruled, even when he was 100% bang on the money. And people being a little resistant to his ideas because of the sometimes forceful way he put them forward wasn't the only side effect. Because allegedly, Stigwood and Ertegun decided it was too much hassle to try and argue it out with him, and it was easier to just lose, sabotage, or destroy the demos. When they wanted to record songs that weren't just recycled R&B standards, they were greeted with blank incomprehension and even hostility. Demo tapes were lost and sessions sabotaged. There were a few numbers which mysteriously vanished, says lyricist Pete Brown. They were recorded as demos by Cream, and Stigwood may have thought that they were going in the wrong direction and were not commercial, so he suppressed them. Then they turned up again many years later. There were 7 of these songs: Blue Condition, Take It Back and Swalabra, all of which did actually make it onto the album. Then there's The Clear Out, Hey Now Princess, and one called Weird of Hermiston, and the demos of those can all be heard on the deluxe edition of Disraeli Gears. The Clear Out and Weird of Hermiston would also get properly, fully recorded by Jack Bruce later on his first solo album after Cream, the absolutely brilliant Songs for a Tailor. And on that album is also Jack's finished version of the 7th song they demoed, a track called Theme for an Imaginary Western. An absolutely extraordinary song. On this track we get what is, in my opinion, the best British vocal take of 1969 and Jack Bruce's greatest ever vocal take, which is really saying something. And this song was also recorded by Cream, and I don't know why, but this is the one that was perhaps sabotaged, perhaps destroyed, and has never been found. Jack says, in Theme for an Imaginary Western, they had a song to die for, a beautifully constructed homage to life on the road, but in fact not only were the tapes rejected, they ended up lost for decades. This version of Western has never been found. Lyricist Pete Brown confirms this, saying, "The most popular song I wrote with Jack outside of Cream is Theme for an Imaginary Western. It was originally written for Cream. You probably know the story. We did a lot of demos of various songs and the manager deliberately lost them because he thought they weren't commercial. And also there was some kind of collaboration as well with Ahmet Ertegun. Ertegun didn't like some of the songs as well because he wanted a blues band. But then again, he had to make a big about face because he called Sunshine of Your Love psychedelic rubbish, and it became the best-selling single that Atlantic ever had." And that's true. In this regard, time went on to show that despite his rough edges, Jack was 100% right. If you haven't heard Theme from an Imaginary Western yet, go listen to it. I'll put a link in the description. It's an absolutely extraordinary song with a gut-wrenching vocal performance from Jack, and it really is a bit heartbreaking to think that out there somewhere is a Cream version of this song with Eric Clapton on lead guitar. Listening to Jack's version, I can almost hear where Eric Clapton's licks and fills would fall in between the vocal. Perhaps that song really was deleted or destroyed, nobody knows, but it was recorded and only ever heard by the tiniest handful of people. But even now, there is still a chance that somewhere out there it still exists, and that one day we still might get to hear the rarest studio recording that Cream ever made. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. A massive thank you as always to my Patreons. The link to this song, or Jack's version of it, is down in the description, along with the link to my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.